After a string of Western accusations against Russian hackers, Edward Snowden reveals that the British and American intelligence agencies are themselves spying on Russia's biggest cybersecurity firm. Uncertainty sees thousands taking to the streets of Athens, with anti-eurozone and pro-EU rallies ending in scuffles. In Greece and the EU ministers still, though, not agreeing on a last-minute cash-for-reform deal. US-led airstrikes back up Kurdish fighters seizing key positions from Islamic State. This in a war that's proving a lucrative business for some high-ranking US military officials. Just turning midday here in Moscow. Thanks for joining us on RT International. The news team here putting together your top worldwide headlines. It's usually Russian hackers accused of posing a cyber threat in the current international climate. Whether it's reading Barack Obama's emails or attacking Sony, it's always Russians to blame. But according to a new revelation from Edward Snowden, the British and US spy agencies themselves have been snooping on data stored by Russia's largest cybersecurity firm. Our correspondent Harry Fear has details.
Well, the UK and the US's surveillance efforts are far-reaching, we all know. But according to this top-secret document from 2008, made public only now, the British agency GCHQ has, some experts say, reached a new ethical low. It's been subverting antivirus software. And one security firm particularly repeatedly targeted for intrusion, Moscow-based software firm Kaspersky Lab, which has hundreds of millions of users worldwide. And the secret documents made public only now say Kaspersky's leading antivirus software continued to pose a challenge to GCHQ's computer network exploitation program. GCHQ had to hack it so they could continue global surveillance undetected. The strategy to avoid detection then has apparently been hack the makers of security software to ensure you're one step ahead of their abilities, left free then to snoop on the world's computers. But the US has also been up to the same game, apparently targeting 24 antivirus software companies too, according to these latest leaks published by The Intercept. Now, Kaspersky has a holding in the UK, and so to target the firm in this way, GCHQ had to make a request like this one that we now see for a warrant from the UK's Home Office to make this kind of intrusion and targeting. Now, GCHQ has told RT that they can't comment on this specific case, but they say their surveillance is legal and proportionate. They added in their statement that its interception regime is entirely compatible with the European Convention on Human Rights. Meanwhile, there are now also speculations that GCHQ and the NSA might have in fact been using antivirus software itself to sneak their snooping programs onto our systems. No irony spared then, as of course these software programs are set up to protect our security and privacy, not spoon-feed our information to the snoopers.
Well, the released document suggests GCHQ named Kaspersky as a key target. It goes as far as to say the company poses a challenge because of its ability to detect government spying activity. And there is a long list of state-sponsored malware unearthed by Kaspersky. Let's show you some of the viruses here on a bit of a list. For example, Kaspersky helped expose the notorious Stuxnet supervirus, the first malware to actually ruin infrastructure in 2010 when it was used to attack Iran's nuclear centrifuges. 2012, Kaspersky uncovered the US-linked Flame, the most sophisticated cyber weapon seen at the time. And just a couple of weeks ago, the company itself fell prey to the Duku virus. The target was again Iran, specifically talks on its nuclear program. Guess what? It was linked, allegedly, to Israel. We asked Eugene Kaspersky why he thinks Duku 2 is state-sponsored.
We, as a software company, we can estimate the investment into the software project. That's a software project. How much did they invest to develop it, to test, and to support it? That's why I think it's at least $10 million US, or maybe more, maybe much more.
The company said it's actually appalled that spy agencies focus on software which is designed to keep users like you or me safe. A former British MI5 agent and whistleblower Annie Mashon told us companies like Kaspersky inadvertently offer a real opportunity for government snoopers.
It appears from what we've seen through the disclosures that if you target antivirus software, you get into the core of the computer and you get better access. This is the sort of software that is designed to protect banks, to protect our financial interests. It's designed to protect our health records, things like that. For the spies to be going after a company like this is rather strange. One of my senses is this is a revenge attack against this company because they have exposed some other very nasty state-level spying viruses that have been released out into the wild.
On our website for you this hour, analysis of how spy agencies managed to infiltrate the security companies' networks. Details, the full write-up, waiting for you. For now on the programme, though, after a day of talks in Brussels, a deal to save Greece's teetering economy, it's still not in place. And the uncertainty now has driven thousands to the streets of Athens. Yeah, both anti-eurozone and pro-EU rallies were held. Police had to separate the rival protests when scuffles broke out. EU supporters have been calling for the country to remain a part of the eurozone, while others have been urging an end to austerity, whatever it takes. As it stands, however, there are glimpses of a breakthrough, with the Prime Minister saying a new plan is now being looked at by international creditors.
Today we submitted our proposal to the institutions with alternative measures that are based on social justice. For the first time, the burden is not being put on the pensioners and wage earners. We want a comprehensive and viable solution that is accompanied by a strong growth package that will make the Greek economy viable so that the country can stand on its own feet again.
The new proposals don't completely remove the points of friction between the sides. And a number of EU leaders who took part in the talks admitted there's still a lot of work to do, and time is running out.
What Greece put forward today is certainly progress. But within our discussion, we also noticed that there is a lot of work that needs to be done, and we are running out of time.
We will continue to work on the basis of a new proposal, which is certainly more comprehensive and includes much more details than what we had seen, but it still lacks specificity. So we're short on time, long on work.
I call the summit to put an end to the dangerous uncertainty and to avoid the worst-case scenario, which means chaotic and uncontrollable Grexit.
There are two main stumbling blocks hampering the deal. First, pension reform. International lenders are demanding that Athens introduce benefit cuts. Greece will only agree to gradually raising the retirement age. Second, tax reform. Creditors also want Greece to raise the VAT, but Athens wants it to remain at the same level for basic goods like medicine. Instead, Greece is ready to raise taxes on luxury goods and high-profit business. RT's Peter Oliver now having a look at the prospects.
These talks were billed initially as the real last chance saloon. It hasn't proved to be that way. But what we are hearing as the talks came to an end in Brussels is that steps have been made towards a potential deal. We're hearing from the AFP news agency, quoting sources within the Greek government, saying that the Greek government have accepted in principle the current bailout to be continued. Now, that would lead to a solution to the debt deal. It would free up the money that's needed, the 7.2 billion euros worth of bailout money that Greece needs in order to pay off its bills. However, that would also lead to, well, the crossing of some of the red lines for the Greek government. We've heard talk about pensions and VAT coming into the proposals that have been put forward by the Greeks to their main creditors. Now, these are all things that may go down well in Brussels, may go down well in Berlin and here in Paris. They're not going to go down too well with the Greek voters in Athens. Athens and elsewhere in Greece. These are the things that they voted Syriza in, the left-wing party that took over the government. They voted them in to not do these type of things. It seems, though, that because we are in a situation whereby a deal has to be done, that they may have to make some real sacrifices in that deal. We heard from Jean-Claude Juncker, the European Commission president. He said that a deal will be done this week because a deal must be done this week. So it isn't the deadline day we all thought it was going to be, but we are expecting some more to come over the next few days.
Throughout the crisis, the IMF chief has told Greece to offer a credible program if it wants a deal, because the organisation has a responsibility to its 188 members. However, earlier this month, Christine Lagarde suggested the International Monetary Fund could lend a financial lifeline to Ukraine, even if Ukraine cannot pay it back. The criticism, though, facing the current policies of international lenders is summed up in this cartoon. Recently published, attempting to show the difference between the approaches to both Ukraine and Greece. Economist Richard Wolff says there is a clear lack of consistency.
The same old story. There is no difficulty in giving Greece a reduction in its debt. Let me remind you all that in 1953, Germany, which owed enormous sums to Britain, the United States, and France, asked for debt forgiveness. It is outrageous that the Germans now act as though they can't do for Greece what was done for them. It becomes doubly outrageous if they're going to give money to Ukraine, which is an obvious political support against Mr. Putin and so on in Russia, when they won't do it for Greece. It exposes the reality that this is much more of a political maneuver than an economic crisis.
In the meantime, a Grexit can literally give you a headache. A German entrepreneur has decided to cash in on the possibility of Greece leaving the eurozone with a new alcoholic drink called the Grexit. The vodka lemon tipple sporting that label there, with Alexis Tsipras and the Greek finance minister Yanis Varoufakis clinking bottles. It's set to hit the German market shelves within 2 weeks. The businessman, he says he actually supports Greece's case and is a fan of the new Greek government. Well, still to come here on the programme, Eastern Ukraine exposed to the power of music. A Ukrainian-born pianist banned from playing in Toronto gives a concert in war-torn Donetsk. As she spoke to RT just minutes before that performance. Also still to come here, traditional Palestinian scarf makers under threat from China. The story's coming up in just a bit.